Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I'm also a doctoral student of psychology. Today, we are going to talk about why men regret leaving a good woman. And we're going to talk about men regretting leaving a good woman, but I'm also making the video of how women regret leaving a good man. I'm going to make both. Right now, we're just talking about how men regret, but the other one is either before or after this one. And the very first one of how we can kind of know a man actually regrets leaving a good woman and why it may have taken so long is sometimes he realizes her loyalty is rare. It's not common. So after dating other people, other folks, he might actually realize that loyalty, emotional support, and consistency are actually kind of hard to find, which they are. So if you have that trait, anybody, man or woman, you are probably at this point kind of irreplaceable because it's kind of hard to find nowadays. That's my perspective. I don't know about y'all, but that's how I see it. A good woman actually has always been there, has been supportive, has been consistent. And sometimes he realizes whatever reason that he left, it could have been irrational. It could have been him not understanding what he has had. And once he left and reflects upon it, he realizes it's very hard to find. And at this point, he might try and win her back. And that's up to you to decide. If you're the guy who makes this mistake, go ahead and try and win her back if she's available. And if you are the lady, if you believe he's truly changed, which he maybe has, that's probably why he's coming back. Maybe giving that opportunity and realizing people grow and people change, even he does, right? Or you guys can move on and learn from these lessons. The next one is that he realizes she truly loved him for who he was, not who he can be, right? A good person typically will often see a person with both their flaws and the positive things they bring to the table. Perceived flaws, right? Perceived flaws different depending. However, she sees him beyond that, right? And that actually makes him feel like he doesn't have to change. But sometimes what happens is somebody doesn't want to accept those flaws in themselves. And so somebody who accepts those flaws, they might run from them simply because they're ashamed of them. Even though she accepts them, she doesn't care, but she does see them. He doesn't want those to be seen. So sometimes he might run away from that relationship because he's not ready to face who he really is. But once he is, he starts realizing she might have been the only person in his life who really accepted those flaws. He didn't even, right? Or maybe it's just very uncommon to find. And so once they're separate, he starts to realize how uncommon that unconditional love was. And he wants that back. And I think that's normal. But it's also understanding that she might not want him back because she did accept him for who he was and he didn't accept himself, right? And so it might be a burden on her to have to trust him again. It's up to you guys to decide whatever side you're on. Relationships can be dynamic and different. And so you never know, and I never judge, but this is just for information. I'm not giving advice, okay? The next one is that he actually realizes his life is not as stable as he thought it would be without her. Often a good woman brings emotional stability, care, and grounding to some extent, like foundation, I would say, to a man's life. And without her, life actually might feel more empty, chaotic, and more, maybe it's a little too much for him in general. I wanted to say diverse, but what I mean is like he's pulled in so many different directions. Sometimes, and everybody has moments where they're pulled in many different directions. We're so busy all the time. I know I'm a very busy person. We all are, right? But having something that you know is always going to be there, who you can just be with and not have to worry about all the rush and hustle of this life, he might not realize maybe he was searching for independence and freedom, which that's fine. But he realized that maybe that independence he could have had in that relationship instead of sacrificing the relationship, because that foundation that she brought gave him peace that he no longer has, right? The next one is actually that she helped him to be a more encouraged, more emotionally intelligent professional person, whatever it may be. She was very supportive. She helped him grow. And she encouraged him in ways that were not harsh, not misleading. They were genuine. She wanted the best of him. She was actually motivating him. And maybe she was a source of motivation, but it was hard for him to realize how much of that motivation she was actually carrying until she's gone, to which now it actually is that he she gave honest feedback, and maybe he wasn't ready for that. But now that it's gone, he realizes that was actually helping him grow. The next one is that actually whatever his new relationship is, or whatever relationships he's seeking, might not be a full new relationship quite yet. He might recognize that some of these relationships out here can actually be quite superficial. And he realizes that what he had with that particular woman was not necessarily superficial. It was beneficial for him, it was fulfilling, it was authentic, it was meaningful. And many men and women, a lot of people realize dating actually can become very superficial, especially nowadays, I feel, whereas it's less emotional connection and authenticity, right? We're not dealing with people who are just wanting relationships. There are so many different situations nowadays. And if you're with somebody where it's one-on-one, you together, and you leave that, sometimes it's really hard to find that again. Dating is challenging for anybody. And sometimes people have to learn it the hard way. And maybe this man that we're kind of talking about today, this concept example, he might realize that relationships are hard. And he maybe wishes he stuck that one out because even though it was hard, it was authentic. The next one is maybe that she was there when he was going through a lot of things that other people might not stay for. Maybe what he would even describe as maybe his worst, or maybe when he was on rock bottom. And maybe she stayed through the difficult times. A good woman typically does stay during difficult times. And this is really rare because I think a lot of you guys know, sadly, some people leave when you're at rock bottom. They're not there to stay. And I guess that's their choice. Of course, it's their choice, right? It's their right. But it's also something that leaves people feeling abandoned, right? Maybe when you were at rock bottom, if you're a man, it's not like you meant to be in that situation. It wasn't fully your fault, but maybe someone left you anyways. That really stings. Now, imagine if somebody's there for you all the time, even if you're at rock bottom. That's obviously a very beautiful bond. However, let's say this example, she was there for him at rock bottom and then he left for whatever reason. He obviously, or most likely, is going to regret that because it's so uncommon to find. And during life's challenges, sometimes we get caught up into those challenges. And so we don't realize what we have until it's gone. And that sometimes happens, right? The actual next one is similar, where he might have taken her efforts for granted. I guess he didn't realize how much it really affected his entire life and how much it made his life easier. She might have been cooking, she might have been listening, she may have been planning, maybe checking in on things. And those small things that good women tend to do can sometimes go unnoticed until it stops because it's kind of just there, kind of oiling the machine as it goes through, right? It's not obvious because it's fully maintained all the time. But when her efforts are no longer there, if they've broken up or maybe she's distanced herself or she's gone, whatever it may be, he starts realizing a lot of these things that she was doing, it's a lot. And I wish I still had that. The next one is he finally understands what love really is and what it means. And it's sometimes that a lot of men growing up, they didn't get a lot of that obvious love from their parents. So it takes them a little longer to know what love really is. This is not an excuse. A lot of women have this situation as well, especially nowadays, it seems. But in general, some people only learn what love is, unfortunately, after a long time. And maybe he recognized love isn't just about passion or excitement. It's about trust, consistency, and a deep connection. And he might have realized that after he lost her, okay? And so I hope this video was helpful to somebody. Please like, subscribe. I will see you in the next one.